Hi, Chris. Hello. How are you? Happy New Year. Happy to have you here again. And let's do this chat about immigration.
Indeed, yes. Happy New Year, Vitoria. Yeah, the New Year 2021 and a new start, especially for all the European nationals. Now that Brexit has is now official.
Well, no transitory period anymore and no immigration European rules anymore. So we are only in the British regulations. So everything
Mm,
is so different and people needed to understand where we are stepping now. It's very, very complicated, guys. So that's why we're here to
exactly.
talk
Yeah,
about it.
and also the other way round as well. I've had some inquiries from British nationals now confused about their immigration status in Europe as well.
Did you see the confusion in the people that were trying to board to Spain and were refused by the flight companies? That was
Yeah, I saw that on the
absolutely a
news. Yeah.
scandal.
Mm,
And it looks like they were right, they were not wrong, but nobody really knows how to act. So the flight companies try to, I would say, protect themselves and
mhm.
ended up like really damaging the life of these people, not putting them in the airplane. Wow.
Definitely. Yeah. Mm.
So I think that we would start to talk about now what's happening with people that are arriving from 1st of January and what are the rights of the family members since January. Because I seen really a huge amount of misinformation. And this is why I think we should inform the public what are the rights as Europeans bringing their spouses and their kids to UK after 1st of January.
Yes, yes. Um, I think that there's not been enough information put out there by the British government to give people advice, and that inevitably leads them to get the wrong advice from people who don't know what they're talking about.
And internet. I think the
Ah, the
internet,
internet. Yes.
it's a brilliant thing. We are in the
Hmm.
internet right now, but people have to be very careful because the internet is not qualified to give advice, and this is what makes
Hmm.
them do mistakes.
Indeed, yes. And when you're traveling, when you're making changes, to your life, you're going to a new country to start a new life. You need to get things right, or it could be a very costly mistake.
Well, this week I have my team has seen at least 9 people since 1st of January. Nine.
Hmm.
This is an absurd number because we don't even have 9 days yet for today.
Yes, exactly.
9 people that have been stopped in the airport because they were
Hmm.
arriving here without a visa, like they arriving as tourists, but they were coming here to join a European person that is already living here.
Hmm.
And according to the new legislation that we have, they cannot arrive here, entry as a tourist, and then apply for the pre-settlement. This is not allowed anymore. And these
They have to
people,
apply before traveling. Yeah. Mm.
yes, there is something
Mm.
called EU settlement family permit. And
Hmm.
even if you are in a country that doesn't need a visa to fly here, doesn't matter because you're not flying as tourist, you're flying to live here. And this is a huge change because
Yeah,
some,
because I think they have the intention of being a tourist, the intention of returning home. The moment you give them the impression that you're not going to be returning home, then they're not going to let you in.
exactly. And
Mm.
this visa is an entry clearance where you're going to be able to entry in the country and you still need to apply for the pre-settlement after. So it is just to arrive here and say,
Mm.
my intention is to live here with my spouse, with my or the kids with my parents or my father, my mom. But you have to have that. And people have been really either refused entry or being like allowed entry, but then getting the removal order to leave the country. Because sometimes they cannot just put in the first flight, depending on
Uh-huh. Yeah.
this issue of flights that we have nowadays. So it is absolutely appalling the lack of information that humans are having before traveling to UK.
Yeah, and some people might say, "Oh, why don't we have a transition period?" But we had a whole year transition period. That's the problem, and it still didn't get the message across to people.
Exactly. And I saw
Mm.
also another thing that really called my attention. It is that in these 9 people, two were actually brother and the wife of a European. So they're not even family
Ah,
members.
mm,
They are
yeah,
what we call extended family members. And
mm,
extended family members don't have any rights anymore.
exactly. That ended on the 31st of December.
So they thought that they
Mm,
would gonna arrive here and apply as dependent of the brother because the brother was sending their money in Brazil because they were
uh-huh.
really not having a good life there. But they have absolutely zero rights from now on.
They came 1 week too late.
Exactly.
Mm,
Actually, less
mm.
than a week too late because this brother and his wife arrived on the 2nd of January.
Oh, wow. That's really bad luck. Mm,
I think that is bad planning or bad
hmm
information besides all the luck, because I
hmm
know that we are living in a very crazy time with the pandemic, the COVID, and the flights are very difficult. But so many people arrived last year and they were able to legalize themselves. So
Yeah,
if you had the correct information, you would be here, I'm quite sure.
it's true. Yeah. hmm But obviously, we're now in a new era. So moving forward, it's really important that anybody who is planning to come to UK to join the European national, number one, they need to check that they're eligible, that what type of relationship it is, and number two, they need to apply for the permit before they even think of getting on a plane.
Well, there is one more case that I saw this in these 9 people that called my
Uh-huh.
attention. It is
hmm
a person that is not really legally married. What
hmm
they call themselves, oh, my spouse, but they are not legally married. In some countries, they have this kind of relationship that is kind of an unmarried partner for us here in the UK.
Uh-huh.
And this unmarried partner, it is like registered in a notary via a contract. So it is like
Okay.
a
So this
contract.
is this in Brazil itself, is it?
Well, Brazil and some other countries in Latin
hmm
America have. So there is like
Mm.
we call união de facto, means like it's a fact relationship. Okay, they
Uh-huh.
are really living together. They put in a contract to determine how are the standards of the relationship and everything else. But in reality, they're not married. So UK does not consider them a couple as married.
Mm.
And as not married, they are not family members. They are the extended family members. And the
Exactly, which
extended family
has a
member
huge
is
effect on their entitlement now.
completely. This
Mm,
really, really scared me when I saw, because I
mm,
didn't even realize that. That was something that I said, oh my God, it's true. So many countries have this, and people would
mm.
arrive here say, well, we lived together 20 years. We are a couple. Well, technically you are, but
Mm.
legally you are not.
Yes,
So,
exactly. I mean, and this just comes down to showing how different countries interpret laws differently.
well, I think I told you this before, but we used to do a lot of marriage by proxies. Marriage
hmm
by proxies are not allowed in the UK. In the UK, but if you do a marriage by proxy in a country where the legislation is like permits, UK accepts because this is international law.
Yeah.
So I used to do marriage by proxies for couples that were one spouse here living in the UK, unfortunately without a visa, and the
hmm
other one was European. And after the marriage, we were able to apply for their visa based on the method case law.
hmm
Nowadays, that is not going to happen anymore because that person that has no visa will need to go back to apply for the visa to come here. So, yes,
So there's no need for the proxy marriage anymore. Yes, they might as
well,
well go back and yeah.
well, maybe the marriage by proxy is going to continue in the sense that the European is going to continue working here and not going there to
hmm
get the marriage done, because the
Yeah.
time that they have to go there and do the marriage sometimes takes like 2 months to be done, takes a long time,
Uh-huh.
and people like miss work. But it was much simpler to the fact that everybody was here, continue being living here, and life continue going on, and we would do the paperwork only. But now it's not paperwork, the person has to leave the country.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And uh, I think that in a way, this was really the main reason for Brexit. The government wanted to control immigration, and in a huge way, now we're seeing that result, and
Well,
it's
this
going to affect a lot of our clients.
definitely. And there is, this was the way the people marrying British people would have to do their visas. So there was an equality. That is true. There was a big inequality. When you marry the British or anybody with indefinite leave to remain, you would need to go to your country of origin to apply for the visa. So it was an equality that people married Europeans could do here. And I heard several British clients very upset saying, why my spouse has to go? And the spouse of my friend, whatever, John Doe, did not need to go. So there was this inequality, and I understood. And sometimes I did tell the British clients, say, I'm so sorry, but this is the legislation. The British legislation is this, and the European is that. And they were absolutely mad because they felt very frustrated that their legislation.
Yeah, you're a citizen of the UK, yet someone who's not a citizen has an advantage over you with regards to the immigration law. Yes. I mean, to be fair, the UK knew what it was doing when it entered into the treaty negotiations. UK nationals had similar rights in other European countries, so it was a trade-off. However, I mean, on the other side, for Europeans, there is still some advantages over British law to the new system. For example, the minimum income requirement is still not required if you're going to be sponsoring a spouse as a European national.
Well,
so that's a big advantage.
Until the 30th of June 2021.
Well, yes.
That's two things that I wanted to point out. There is one exception.
There is an expiry. Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, we are in the grace period. So we have a due date, an expiry date to bring your spouses here under this system that is still like, I would say, a mix that doesn't have all the requirements as the British. So this is one thing. And the second thing that I want to pinpoint is that there is one exception. If the spouse and the kids have European passport also, and they are coming to join here, one person that is already here and has already arrived the last year, that people don't need to do the visa because they are European. So they can arrive as a tourist and apply for the pre-settlement automatically. So I have a client that asked me yesterday, he said, my two children have a European passport, but my wife doesn't. So I'm going to have to apply for my wife, not for my two children. I said, yes. So she is not happy at all because she feels that absolutely like a disadvantage that the kids can and she can't. So, but that's life. The kids have a passport and she doesn't. So what can I do?
Yeah.
That's life. But it is the only exception is that if you are European, because if you are from any other country, doesn't matter. You will need to have the visa before coming to UK.
Exactly, and logistically, that's going to be a big change for people to have to deal with.
Well, the consulates, not the consulates. Let me rephrase myself. The VFS that does the visas in some of the countries that we deal with, they are already full. And I'm saying this because during this time of during last year, September, October, when they opened after the lockdown, was a nightmare to get appointment for people that wanted to come here. And some of these people needed to come here until a certain day because they were students. So they have the date to start studying. And I got clients that arrived late. I got a client that arrived 1 month late to study, but there was no option because she couldn't get an appointment. When we got an appointment, then you have to wait for the visa to be approved. So all this together was a nightmare.
Yeah, and I think we'll be playing catch up for quite a while. Number one, because of COVID, that's affected things. But number two, just while they readjust the volumes, because I don't think they've really planned for all the additional services that they would have to cater to European nationals and their family members.
Well, that's the problem for me. I can imagine when they start receiving in Latin America, because I know their departments there very well, that this amount of people that start applying for the visa. Are they going to create now like new jobs there to put more people to work to receive these applications? I doubt it. So I really
doubt it as well. Yeah.
It's
Mm.
going to be absolutely crazy. And I think that, again, people had the whole last year to arrive. Some did not arrive because they did not
Mhm.
plan properly. And now they are going to be absolutely surprised with all these changes.
Exactly. Yeah. And what I would say to people is, if you're not sure about something, then you need to check with a qualified lawyer. Don't rely on what somebody says on one of these internet newsrooms, news groups, or what your friend has said, or what your family member has said. Get some expert advice because immigration law has changed, and it's changed for the worse if you're a European national or a European national family member.
Well, I had one person that discussed with me, and
Hmm.
I normally do not get into discussions in social media. Okay, I avoid
Hmm.
replying it because I know that one reply that you give to one, people use to other cases, and then you are the wrong person. So I
Hmm.
avoid. But there was I would say a friend that in social media posted something, and I corrected her. I said, "No, it's not right." Oh no, but it is right. This is the way I done. So I told her, well, there was a change in the legislation on the
Yeah.
28th of October. It's 1,200 pages. If you would like to start reading to discuss with me after, because you know more than I, go ahead. And then she
Hmm.
got offended, of course, because I told her that do not give advice on immigration if you are not qualified to that. You work in the health sector. And I don't
Hmm.
give advice to the health sector. I don't prescribe medicine to anybody. I don't tell anybody you have COVID or not. So don't do that. You can really damage a person's life. And when you
Yeah.
did your case, it was like 8 years ago. My God, 8 years ago is not the same as now. Everything changes all the time. But in the end, she was okay. I understand you were right. But she got really offended in the beginning because she thought that
Yeah.
she was helping giving advice.
And that's the problem with sometimes the internet. Everybody has quite a strong opinion to give, and you don't really know what their real qualifications are, what their real background is.
And you need to check the case
Mm.
completely. You need to see that one case is never like the other. And you need
Yeah.
to check
Hmm.
every single detail. Every single information changes and can give you a different overview of the case. It's not the same. So I think that my advice to people today is that if
Hmm.
you are European and you are living here, you have to observe this new legislation that is applicable to you that was not in the past. You are I'm European also. I came here as a European originally. We were very much, would be accustomed to this flexible legislation. It was much easier to bring like family members, extended family members, all this, and everything changed because there are no way anymore to apply any EU regulations after 31st of December. So people need to check before acting. And this is valid to companies also, not only individuals,
Mm.
because companies trading with EU changed, companies doing any kind of business, people going to EU with cars that are from the UK or cars that are from EU coming here. There is absolutely a lot that changed, and that people have to be absolutely informed before doing it.
It's true, definitely, and taking the on from what you're saying about companies. So many companies have links in Europe, and now if you're transferring staff between branches, it's gonna need a visa to transfer staff to UK or transfer staff from UK to European branches as well. Even business visitors now will need visas, especially, for example, I had a company that's contacted me that sends cameramen around the Europe to filming events, and I had a look at the new treaty, the new agreement. It's not covered. It's not covered by the business rules anymore.
Oh
That
my
that would be
God.
classed as work.
Oh my
You can
God.
imagine the
Imagine.
logistical nightmare for that.
Yeah, companies have to adapt. And
Mm.
I saw this week also a big amount of companies contacting and say, oh, I haven't thought about this before.
Hmm.
4.5 years, and they didn't think about it before. So it's more than time to think what's going to be happening. And yes, I'm not asking anybody to read the treaty. I'm not asking anybody to read the immigration rules. It is a lot. We think it's a lot. Imagine to a company.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But you need to consult with whoever is qualified and a specialist in the area.
Yes, and to be fair, as you said, because it's a new treaty, it's almost we ourselves as immigration lawyers are entering into a new thing, but at least we have the experience of dealing with these things in the past. We can know what it was in the past, how it's changed now, how we need to adapt. And of course, we've been dealing with clients who were outside of the European Union anyway, so we're familiar with these rules, how they applied to non-Europeans, and now we can apply that to Europeans as well.
Definitely, yeah, and that's
Mm,
that's the case. And
mm,
also, I saw one of these companies that told me, "Oh, I don't envision to hire any person, so that's why I didn't think about it." But but now I think that I should have done it, because if it
mhm.
is going to take really long, this situation of COVID lockdown, maybe the UKBA is going to be taking much longer to analyze cases. And I think that could be really affecting my plans from April on. And I said, we don't know what's going to happen until April. So if you are planning to
Mhm.
apply in April, yes, apply now. And if you get until April, great. If you don't get until April, you already know that everything is taking really long, because everybody's working from home. There is a really backlog of things happening. So people have to program or to organize themselves and plan themselves much earlier than in the past.
Yeah, definitely. Planning in advance and getting these applications in as soon as possible is always advisable.
I agree with you. I agree,
Mm,
Chris. I think that we needed to advise companies, advise people to not do anything without checking, because the damage, financially speaking, could be really big and
yeah.
also emotional. And this 9 people that we spoke, they were all really, really, really upset.
Mm,
And to the point that one woman was crying to me and saying, I really need to stay. My husband is here and I don't have where to go, because I gave back my flat in my country.
yes, I mean, it's not a pleasant experience being stopped at an airport by an immigration official and being told you're going to be refused entry, having to sit in a room, then be escorted to the next plane. It makes you feel like a criminal.
And imagine, she said
Mm,
she doesn't have a place to be because she gave back the flat that they were renting
mm. So
in,
she's
in their
basically going back
country.
and starting from scratch again.
Well, she's going to stay with
Mm,
her family until she apply for the
mhm.
visa, but we don't know how long the visa is going to take, because
Yeah.
the same
Mhm.
thing, I don't know if the department is working in what speed.
And of course the financial cost as well, because I mean, I imagine she's going to have to pay for a new flight to come to the UK. That's never cheap.
Oh yeah, definitely. You need to
Mm,
pay for your flight. That's
mm.
for sure. That's for sure. There is no other option to come here that's not paying
Yes.
for the flight. Exactly.
Mm,
One more thing that I want to point is that the Irish are also a big example on anything, because the Irish are not in the list of
mm,
European countries that are like in this situation. So the Irish are an exception, and they are exception for everything. So the Irish can come here to live here without any need to even do the settlement or pre-settlement or anything. So a lot of people also are asking me, "Oh, if I am Irish, or I am a son of the Irish. Should I take the Irish citizenship?" I've been seeing a big amount of British citizens getting citizenship from Europe to have a double
mm,
citizenship now, and they are the most different ones. Even our colleagues in Gunnercook, I've been
mhm.
seeing them coming to me and asking, saying, "Oh, I have a grandfather from Poland. I have a grandfather from Czech Republic. I have a grandfather that was from Portugal. Could you please help me?" With
Yeah,
pleasure,
I
I
know,
can help.
definitely. If you have that type of background, it's an advantage to get a dual citizenship.
I think these people never thought about it, because as we
Mm,
were all in EU, there was no need. But now it's the huge increase of amount of people looking to our services asking for European citizenship. So it's really a pleasure to be dealing now with this, like I would say, different movement, because I always did European citizenship for people that
coming into UK and seeking
exactly. So now I have a lot of British clients asking for European citizenship, not only because they are descendant, but sometimes because they are married to European. So it's by marriage also, and it's a huge change in the trend of the work that we did in this last 15 years. But it's good. It's good. It's always very interesting to work with different clientele.
Definitely, yeah. So I think just to sum up then, to remind everybody who's watching that this EU settlement scheme, we only have until the end of June on this scheme. It was supposed to end in December, but the government extended it because a lot of people they knew were going to miss that deadline. So we do have this 6-month period, but then it will 100% definitely end, and then everybody is going to have to apply under UK law, even though the EU settlement scheme is UK law, but it's a bit more lenient than UK law.
It is definitely more lenient.
Definitely, yeah. So, any European nationals, any European family members out there, if you have not already done it, you please contact a lawyer, contact us, and we'll help you with it.
Definitely. And fun enough, I was contacted this morning by a friend, a very big friend that lives in my neighborhood here, saying that she didn't do it. What is absolutely appalling, because she's my good friend. She could have asked me
she could ask you anytime.
For the 4.5 years before, but she's asking me today. So she is a good example of a person that didn't do it and is living for the last minute. And yes, we still have like 5 months to do it, but guys, do not leave it further. I know that time flies, and we need
and this is borrowed time already. So,
and at the time of their consideration increased. In the past, we used to do this pre-settlement or settlement, and some decisions were taken in one day. Now,
I remember that. Yeah,
now it's not
all the memories of that time.
Yes. So please do it. Do not leave it for a later. Do not miss the time, because we do not want to be trying to sort, I would say, or try to do miracles, because that's what people think we do after 30 of June 2021. Chris, it was a pleasure to talk to you again today. Hope we can make more chats about this very soon, because there's so much things happening and so much changes happening that we need.
Immigration law always changing, but it's always a pleasure to chat to you, Vitoria.
My pleasure also. So I see you soon, and we will be talking together to give information to the public always. Thank you very much. And
thanks a lot.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.